In 1871, an old Nez Perce chief summoned one of his sons to his deathbed. He told him that he would be chief of his people soon, and therefore to never give up the land on which they live. The son took his father's hand and promised him he'd protect their land with his life. The son's name was Joseph. He would later become the chief of the Wallowa Nez Perce band who lived in the Wallowa Valley in Oregon. A few decades earlier, in 1855, Joseph and his father, who was also named Joseph, attended a treaty council called by Territorial Governor Isaac Stevens at Walla Walla. Stevens convinced the region's tribes that the best way to preserve their homeland from American encroachment was to sign a reservation treaty. This treaty took away some land from the Nez Perce, but guaranteed them safety from further conquerings. The Nez Perce chiefs, including old Joseph, agreed and signed it. However, in the 1860s, gold was discovered on the reservation. Miners poured in, and in 1863, the U.S. government offered a new treaty attempting to reduce the reservation to less than one-fourth of its previous size. Those bands, whose homes already laid within the boundaries of the new reservation, agreed, and a chief named Lawyer signed the treaty. But the other chiefs, representing about two-thirds of the tribe, protested and withdrew from the council without signing it. Old Chief Joseph was among the ones who refused. His refusal to sign the Treaty of 1863 clouded the issue of ownership, and though the government announced that Lawyer and the chiefs who had signed had spoken for the whole tribe, binding all Nez Perce to the new reservation, no immediate attempt was made to drive old Joseph's band from the Wallowa Valley. In August 1871, old Joseph died, and young Joseph became chief of the Wallowa Nez Perce band. Tensions rose soon after old Joseph's death. Settlers from Oregon's Grande Ronde found a route into the Wallowa and moved in, claiming the natives' land. Young Joseph protested to the Indian agent on the Nez Perce Reservation in Idaho, and an investigation by the Bureau of Indian Affairs resulted in a decision that the Wallowa still belonged legally to the natives. On June 16, 1873, President Grant formally set aside the Wallowa as a reservation for the roaming Nez Perce Indians and ordered the settlers to withdraw. In 1876, two settlers killed a Nez Perce man over a dispute after mistakenly accusing him of stealing their horses. The Nez Perce demanded justice. After threats from natives, American and Nez Perce representatives agreed to a trial to be held under United States law. The men were later found innocent. The next year, in 1877, a series of parleys with the government officials was held. Chief Joseph continued to insist that he would not sell the land, nor give up the land. After that, U.S. Army General Oliver Otis Howard called another treaty council in May 1877. But this time there would be no negotiation. General Howard told Joseph and the other chiefs that their people would need to move, and gave them 30 days to do it. If they refused, the army would move them by force. Joseph then led his unhappy and in many cases angry people to Camas Prairie in Idaho for one last tribal rendezvous, before picking out their own parts of the reservation. He was convinced that this was the only way to keep his people safe. He also believed that he could eventually work out an agreement that would allow them to return to Wallowa and at least share the land with the white settlers. The mood at Camas Prairie was hostile. A band of Nez Perce warriors had ridden off to the white settlements to take bloody revenge for the earlier murder. Without Joseph's knowledge, they killed 18 settlers. Joseph and the other chiefs concluded that the only way to avoid all-out war was to leave their country altogether head over Lolo Pass into Montana, and buy some time among the friendly Flathead people in the buffalo country. Then they departed to a hiding place farther south, in Whitebird Canyon. Meanwhile, General Howard found out about the massacre and sent 90 troopers and 4 officers under Captain David Perry and Captain Joel Trimble to round up the hostiles and force them onto the reservation. 11 civilian volunteers and 12 treaty-supporting Nez Perces accompanied the troops, and after a rapid 2 days' march of almost 80 miles, they learned of the Nez Perce camp in Whitebird Canyon and prepared to attack it early the following morning. The Nez Perce counted about 600 people, 200 warriors, with the rest being women and children. As the army approached, many of the warriors lay drunk on whiskey they had seized from the settlers before. Altogether, not more than 50 warriors, armed with bows and arrows, shotguns, old muskets, and a few modern rifles, rode out to defend the camp. The Nez Perce sent a truce team with a white flag in front, hoping they could avoid the battle. Somebody from the army shot at them. They shot back, and the battle was on. As the battle started, a group of warriors on the left flank swept from behind a hill and charged the volunteers. At the same time, the warriors on the right flank attacked the mounted troopers. The men in the center, seeing natives and confusion all around them, gave way and made a sudden rush for their horses. In a few minutes, the entire command was cut into small groups, fighting desperately for their lives. Those who could fled the battle. The army lost 34 men, a third of their command. The Nez Perce had only 2 men wounded and none killed. Equally important for the future, they retrieved 63 rifles and a large number of pistols from the battlefield. General Howard was shocked, and fearing that the uprising would spread to treaty-supporting Nez Perces, as well as other Northwest tribes, called for troop reinforcements from all over the West. Within a week, General Howard himself took the field. With a force of 227 hastily assembled troops, 20 civilians, and a large group of packers and guides, he marched hurriedly out from La Puey, intending to punish the natives. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing and becoming a Patreon.